Good evening, Eric.
Good evening. Not Drew.
We have a special treat for you. Drew threatened this last time, but he is traveling the world, and we have a very special guest. So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, Eric?
All right. Well, before I introduce myself, I just want to say how proud I am for Drew for finally deciding to get circumcised in a non-culturally insensitive way by going to Israel and actually going to like the birthplace of circumcision to get his ween cut. So I'm very proud of Drew for doing that. But anyway, I'm Erik with the last name Darling. I am coming in a little bit hot tonight, and I'm replacing Drew this week because Drew is sleeping butt down for the first time in his life.
Oh, yeah, we're glad to have you on the show. You're the first official guest host for the show, so this is a monumental. Yeah,
monumental. Yeah.
Monumental.
It's a Monte Cristo moment.
It's a Monte Cristo moment, exactly. So who the heck are you?
I'm Erik. I'm friends with Drew. I do sequels horror stuff. I guess that's pretty much how I met Drew. And he's actually been threatening me with having to do it. But like I think in the past when he threatened me with having to do this, it was always like as a threesome. So like rather than thrupling, I guess we're just doubling, and we're gonna hang out and do it this way tonight while Drew is recovering.
I'm
very arduous journey.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Me too.
So, obviously, I guess not obviously, but you listen to the show.
I do.
Why?
Well, because I'm friends with Drew, and so like I like when my friends have podcasts because then when I'm not in a position where I can like talk to my friends, I can listen to their podcasts, and I kind of feel like I'm talking to them. Like it feels like I'm having like a mental dialogue with them that I don't have to pay attention. It's sort of like being at dinner with other people, and like you can listen to a conversation without necessarily taking part in it. So it's like it was just always kind of nice to listen to it. But I do have actually one sort of like piece of guilt with listening to the podcast. Okay. So like I subscribed to it like a long time ago. But my deal is I always listen to stuff in chunks where I can binge it. And so I started listening to your podcasts like a little bit into like Lockdown V1.
Okay.
And so I started listening to your show, and then like there were like a bunch of like shows leading up to like when like shit was really going to hit the fan, but you were in my head it was like narrator voice where you're like, well, you know, in a few months I'll just go do this, and I was just like, oh no, you're not. No, you're not. But I did listen to like all like 160 something episodes when I didn't have much else to do, but it was wonderful to have that and do that. So it was nice to have that there and to hear your optimism slowly descend and
get destroyed. Yeah. I mean, I still remember being in the office. A thing we used to do going into the office. Being in the office when we decided to shut it down, and I remember looking at my boss. And I was like, this will be 6 weeks. We'll be back. Yep.
No, I had a very, very similar sort of conversation with the gym equipment where I was like, I'll see you in a couple weeks. It's no big deal. And then it was like things just kind of kept dragging on. And I was like, I'm not going to be back here for a while. It's just like, crap. But if only I had like the podcast hindsight that you guys have. But yeah, that's me. That's why I listen to this show.
We appreciate it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of you, but I think the you that listen are relatively loyal. It's always nice when I run into somebody that I haven't talked to for a while, and they're like, "Yeah, so listen to the show." I'm like,
"That's awesome." So like you have just sort of like making some weird assumptions here. You have maybe like Venn diagram friend circle of Drew people and not Drew people.
Yes.
So like you have your own sort of set of friends who listen to the show for their own reasons.
Yep.
And then you have the Drew set of people who listen to the show for you and Drew reasons. And then I'm probably on the Drew reason side of things. Because I just like hearing how he fucks up his computer constantly. That's cracks me up constantly. Because
that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Because I get to hear it twice. Because I play video games with Drew, and then also I get to hear him on the podcast where he like just sort of like relays the story again about how badly he messed some piece of technology up.
He just can't leave well enough alone.
No, much like his foreskin, which is why I'm here. So, like, well, like I keep telling him, Drew, you have a great foreskin. You don't need to do anything with it. But then flies off the handle, bets Xanax, goes on an airplane, and here I am, and here you are.
I honestly can't wait till next week when we get to hear just how his travels went and how his anxiety was. And I'm the opposite. Like flying doesn't bother me at all. I'd much rather fly than drive literally anywhere.
Same.
But man,
no, I'm a big flyer. I love going places. I like the whole process of travel. Like, I don't just love, like, getting off a plane and being somewhere. I love, like, going to the airport. I get to the airport early. I sit in the lounge for a while. I get hammered.
Yeah.
Like, I do, like, there's a lot that, like the process of travel to me is exciting and fun. No matter how many times I do it. Even, like, being on the airplane, as dull as that gets, it's like watching the same, like 4 Marvel movies over and over again. Like, which I'll do just because, like, I know how long they are. So I'm like, let's, like, watch that. Yeah. I have, like, it's like a 6-hour flight. I know exactly how long, like, exactly which movies I'm going to watch. I know when it's going to cut off. Like, I'm good. But, like, I love that whole thing. I like doing it, getting somewhere. I don't have, like, I don't know, maybe it's like a weird, like, just, you know, like I'm okay if the plane doesn't make it. Like, I've lived a full life. It's cool. I don't have that same anxiety about the plane going down because I know it's going to be like 20 seconds of, shit, I'm spilling my wine, and then blackness. And I'm okay with that. Yeah, I can deal with that.
Then nothing.
Mentally,
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I once heard someone describe death as being like before you were born except forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that seemed like an okay bargain to me.
All right. Before we get any further, I want to give you an opportunity to just, you know, plug yourself. What do you do? Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do? I am a SQL Server consultant. I mostly focus on performance tuning. I don't do anything else. I don't care about really anything aside from that. That's what I specialize in. You can find me on Twitter at Erik with a K, Darling with probably a D. Erik Darling Data.
Okay.
And then you can also find my website that way and whatever else. I'm a little sad that I'm not going to listen to this, and so like I apologize. You're going to have like one fewer viewer next week, but
it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay because we're here tonight. We're here together.
Exactly. You know, I'm going to skip around. We have.
Okay.
A little bit of a behind the scenes. We have our own little bespoke doc. Eric put a lot of good stuff in there. So
I put a few things.
Yeah, I'm very excited about one in particular. If you can guess.
Oh, I don't know. I can see where you left the cursor off, but I see there were 2 you left comments on.
Okay, but actually, it's gonna be this one right here.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
If I remember correctly, you recently got converted or bought a Mac. Your first Mac.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is my first Mac. So. Tiny bit of background. I'm not going to give you my full life story, but my mother was a public school teacher, and she would bring home Macs that the school no longer used. So my first Mac was an Apple IIgs, and I used that, and I enjoyed it because it was a computer, and I was a young kid, and I was like, fuck yeah, computers. And so I'd had like bring home Macs from that situation for a lot of my childhood and early, I would say like early teens before I switched over to Windows computers that I could play video games on because, let's be honest about the Mac video game situation back then, it wasn't great.
Never has been great. Never has.
No, I'm not sure it's great now.
No, it's not now. It's not.
Yeah. No. But so like there was that. And then Drew, in his lovely sort of adoption of me, talked me into getting an iPhone, and he gateway drugged me. He the whole time. Okay. He like carrot on a stick to me this whole way through.
You were an Android person before? I
had Android. Whoa! I was a BlackBerry person.
Oh,
and then I was an Android person. Okay. I was full stack not Apple stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Like I even had like an MP3 player that was not an iPod,
Okay.
which is it wasn't a Zune. It was an iPod.
I owned Zunes, plural.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's a brave choice. That's a brave choice. But yeah, so Drew was like, "Yeah, get an iPhone. It's awesome. Like the switch over is really easy." And I was like, "Cool." So I got an iPhone, and then I realized that one of the big things that I liked about having an Android was that I could open up a tab in my web browser and have all my text messages there. And I realized that I couldn't do that with a Windows computer and an iPhone. And I started getting a twitch about that because I can't like do the type of work that I do and be like typing on my phone. I can pretend like if I'm looking at just like something interesting over here and like respond to a text from my wife, but I couldn't do that. So Drew basically carrot on a sticked me into getting a Mac.
Okay.
And it's been an interesting switch, a little bit jarring, just because so many things have not worked. In with like, although it's a Mac, it just works. It's so simple. Like Drew just sitting there going like a cherub, just be like, it just does it. And I'm like, okay, but everything I try to do just goes tits up. It's rough. So like starting from the beginning, like all 90% of my work is SQL Server, and so like I tried like 3 or 4 different like virtualization layers to try to get a working SQL Server environment, and everything ate shit. Everything that I've tried to do,
so
like
what?
Go ahead.
What do you have? What do you have right now? Do you have an Intel or?
I have the Intel one.
Okay.
I went beast on it too.
Okay.
I got like 64 gigs of RAM.
Nice. Okay.
I got like the better like the graphics card upgrade. It wasn't anything crazy. It was like from 6 gigs to 8 gigs or something. But like I got like 2 terabytes of storage. I went I went for like the top of the line Intel proc that you can get in this thing. And like VMware Fusion, VirtualBox, and what the other one? Parallels or something. Yeah. Everything that I use, the I/O on them is so screwed up that I try to create an index and it takes like 4 minutes on my very expensive Mac laptop. But like unlike the bare minimum VM I can spin up on a Windows computer, it's like 30 seconds. And I'm like, what happened, Drew? What'd you do to me? So like there's that portion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that portion of it, and then there's the portion of it where I'm like, Drew, I need USB ports, and he's like, no, you just need to flip around workspaces, and I'm like, fine, but you don't spend like many hours of your day on a web call that has to be like your main focal point, and then have like other focal points to the side that you can like sort of pretend are not what you're looking at while you're paying very close attention to what your clients are complaining about. So I just don't know if like as a workflow, I'm like your target Mac user, but I've been trying my best. I'm doing my best to be much like this podcast. I'm doing my best to be a Mac user.
I mean, okay. So
hit me with it. Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
No. I mean, let's state effect.
Yes.
All Windows machines are hot garbage, and I hate them all. But I'm not sure you're the right person for me.
No, I think like Windows as an OS, I agree with you on. Yeah. But like my Lenovo P17 workstation with like all the like RAM and processing power that I stick into it handles what I need it to do really well. Yeah. I love everything with the slickness of like the Mac OS interface and like how it works and like doing things with it. It's just like the things that like much like Spinal Tap, my like the things that I can do with it keep getting more and more selective. Like it's just like this dwindling number. Like I can use Office products. Oh, I can, but it rearranged everything on the screen. Like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
That's a tough one. Also, considering that like, if you decide that you like the Mac and you go to buy a new one, well, you can't do that virtualization thing anymore. That's right out the window.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, we're glad to have you in the Apple family. It's just, like I think you're going to spend a lot of time remoting into a Windows machine.
No, I do. I spend 95% of my like actual working life in a Windows RDP session to do something else with it. I'm very happy with the 5% of the time that I'm using a Mac for stuff because it's nice. It's pretty looking.
Yeah.
It does things well. But man, like there's stuff that I wish I knew before I spent $5,000 on a laptop.
Yeah, I mean they're not cheap either. They're
well, like if I could go back too, like I could buy a much less substantial Mac, knowing what I know. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, give me the 64 gigs RAM. Like I'm cool with 16 because I don't think I need 64 gigs of RAM to RDP into a Windows box. Probably.
And let's be honest, Apple's RAM pricing has never been competitive or realistic.
No. And over the last year, it's been especially not based in reality.
No, absolutely. RAM and storage, both of those are just like you're charging how much for an extra terabyte?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And there's never a like, oh, surprise, that's on sale this week. It's like just to get you to buy it. Like Lenovo, like you can configure whatever you want at any given time, and they're like, by the way, that just happens to be on sale. Here's $300 off. Please just finish the checkout. Please just finish the checkout. Max, it's just like, oh yeah, sorry. It's actually $500 more this week. There was a strike at the plant, and you're like, okay.
And cool. now, if you buy a Mac, you're going to wait for it. You get to pay. You get to pay for it and wait for it. Yeah.
Like a good chunk of time. Like I felt pretty grateful when like the Intel one that I bought. That was just like they were like 4 to 6 weeks. I got it in like 2.5, 3 weeks. I was like, okay, cool. You came in early on that. Thanks, but man, it was a weird thing. Very weird thing. And it's funny because. A lot of people who I know who do similar things to me use Macs, and they seem to thrive with them. They seem to do just fine. They don't have these problems. They like have figured out some workload or like some workflow that works well. But holy crap! I feel like I just got in too late for it. It was like New York real estate. I got in too late to be useful. Anything like I can't even buy anything in like a dilapidated neighborhood and come back from that. It was something.
Yeah.
So actually, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking an Bell's Oberon American Wheat Ale.
I've had those before.
It's nothing special, but it's a good. I like to say it's a good. I just finished mowing the lawn beer.
Yeah.
And Eric and I were talking before the show. I just got back from my daughter's her last 6th grade band concert, and it was in the gymnasium, and that place was like 1,000 degrees.
Yep.
I'm a chubby guy, so I was sweating, so I figured I needed to rehydrate with a nice adult beverage.
If there's anything I remember about grade school gymnasiums, is they are not the most well ventilated and air conditioned places in the world. I
mean, and let's be honest, it's May. That school's not turning on their air conditioning for like, or if they even have air conditioning. I don't know. The school's almost over. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And also, let's continue this path of honesty. There up until like probably yesterday, there was. Like, you probably had the heat on because it's been freezing goddamn cold for a long time. Like I'm in New York. I know you're in Ohio, so like we're close enough. We're close enough in a lot of ways. I think with that, and like at the beginning of May, April, and March, there were like every single week, like I would hear the heat kick on in the apartment and be like, "This isn't right. This is not how God intended the weather to be here. Like we're supposed to be over the heat kicking on. We're not really. We're maybe not at like full open windows yet, but we are at least in a place where we don't need heat coming up. And so I can only imagine that school in Ohio would have been.
It's warm.
Yeah.
I turned my air conditioner on today.
Yeah,
I think it's the earliest I've done it. And
yeah.
Yeah,
we have all window unit air conditioners, the kind that fall out and kill people.
Yeah.
So like I know that I'm gonna have to put those in soon, and it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
Oh, Okay, so I'm gonna throw this one at you out of left field completely.
Yeah, I like left field.
So obviously, I worked with Drew for a long time. He came from that same kind of data SQL background. How did you get into what you do?
Oh boy,
yeah.
My path into SQL Server was not quite as set in stone as Drew's. Drew seemed to like his entire life just be like IT. And like working his way through like the long march through different facets of IT. Yep. Mine was not so much. I was a bouncer by trade.
Ooh,
until
fancy.
No, not fancy. It was just fun and for a long time. And then I was dating this girl who insisted that I get a real job, and so I got sort of a real job. And then like I just sort of long marched through IT in weird ways. Okay. And then I don't know. One day I was trying to do I was using an Excel file, and I tried to do a VLOOKUP.
Ooh,
and I was
fancy.
I was having trouble with the VLOOKUP. And my boss at the time said, "Oh, just do it in SQL." And I was like, "Okay, cool. How do I do that?" And he says, "Okay, well, here's a SQL server." And I went, "Okay." And it was just like, well, just load the Excel file in. And it was just like that typical thing where someone's just like, oh, just do this, right?
It's easy. Just do it.
Just
right
take
click,
this next
load
step.
the file, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, just do this next thing. And then I eventually, from that, I ended up just being in charge of all of their SQL Server stuff. I went from
makes sense.
Yeah, I went from I'm doing something with an Excel file to okay, now I'm your DB. And I'm in charge of all your reporting queries and making them run. And it was just this weird, let's jump in the water, kid. And then I don't know if it was just I guess it was just love at first sight. Or it was maybe I can make more money at first sight. I don't know. It was one of those things. But.
I mean, that doesn't hurt. That's for sure.
No. Apparently, SQL Server is a fairly popular piece of software. I mean, it brought me and Drew together in a way.
I mean, me too. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
No, you. Mm-hmm. So what was your thing with databases?
Well, so Drew and I work together.
Yes, clearly.
So
it's hard to meet Drew if you don't work together.
Yeah, that's very true.
He's not a sporting man. He's not a very social man.
I mean, so my relationship with databases has always been kind of weird. So I started my career as a filthy, dirty software developer, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, my first real job.
You look like you're counting. This is
no. I mean, I have the gray hair to prove it. It wasn't until a good solid year and a half, 2 years into my career that I did anything with the database. My first job was doing VBA automation stuff all inside of Office.
Yeah.
So
VBA used to be amazing. That was a big thing.
Yep. Yeah, and then the job where I had to use a database, I was doing ASP, not ASP.NET, ASP.
Oh,
before
classic ASP. Wow,
VB6 classic ASP on SQL Server. I think it wasn't 2000. It was the one before 2000.
7.
Yeah,
six,
it might
six,
have
five,
been it. Yeah, 6, 5, or 7.
Yeah.
But luckily, I had someone there who was willing to show me the ropes and teach me a bunch of stuff. And then I became an overpriced consultant.
Same.
And it was weird because I did a lot of this is gonna sound real bad because it is bad.
It's not.
No.
It can't sound worse than what I do.
So you know that big mortgage crisis?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I helped with that. I built 2.5 mortgage systems for various banks that all went and some version eventually went out of business.
Okay, it's not your fault they went out of business.
It kind of is. Some of the stuff I did actually, it was it was okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Look, I've never had a mortgage. I don't blame you for anything.
But there, it was all Oracle. And
we can safely blame Larry Ellison for the mortgage crisis.
And like having worked on like shops that use Microsoft SQL Server, I have, like where I work, that they're all Microsoft SQL Server, and big Oracle shops, like the attitude is just different.
Yep.
And like you had to like beg and plead to even get read-only access to the development database you needed to do your job. So like writing queries and stuff, that was just like, no. You submit your formal request to the Oracle developer.
Yep.
And if they deem you worthy enough, they'll send you back a store proc you can call, and you'll be grateful for it.
Yes. I mean, look, Oracle as a database is a pretty it's sort of a fantastic thing. Mm-hmm. I've always been a little bit jealous of, so like Oracle for me was always like that distant shore. Like I could never like get advanced enough with Oracle to be an Oracle person. Like I could never bridge that gap. I would read like all the like Ask Tom Oracle stuff. I would like get into that. I would like read about like how they like diagnose things and look at things. And like even knowing as much as I do about SQL Server, I would look at that stuff and be like, wow, no, I can't possibly do that. That is hard. Like I always thought of SQL Server in the sort of almost the same way that I thought about Python as a language, where it's just like, yeah, I'm doing it with crayons. It was like it's just not as difficult. You're like not as like low level with stuff as like you are with SQL Server. It's just it was just weird viewing that world as like someone who knows a bit about databases and seeing like the Orioles and be like, wow, you really know stuff. Like you can look at blocks and disk sizes and allocations and like, wow, you do a lot of work.
I mean, at least in my experience, places I've worked at, like it took an army of people to keep those things running. Like
highly paid army.
And I remember one of the places they wanted to do an Oracle upgrade. And I kind of befriended one of but he wasn't a DBA. He was just an Oracle developer. So all he did was write queries for us. But I kind of made friends with him. He's like, yeah, Oracle told him flat out, you can't do that yourself. You have to fly in an army of really expensive consultants, and they will walk you through the upgrade process.
It's a thing. I mean, they have truly developed a very expensive ecosystem. It's like Major League Baseball, but for like a database. Like everyone in there is just paid out the butt. There was one time I met an Oracle salesperson in an airport bar, and I don't think his feet touched the ground.
Oh wow!
He looked like he was like Dracula. He just emerged out of rare earth and like floated towards something. It was just like booze.
Here's my question though.
Yeah.
Do you think they're selling a lot of brand new Oracle licenses these days?
Brand new? No.
To new customers? No, I don't think they are anymore. No. I think they're done. Like
I think that's a hard sell. I mean, so like the way that I would maybe try to gauge that as far as like market share, like how popular is this thing, would be like how is Oracle Cloud doing? Like how well do you sell people on like moving your existing Oracle nonsense to whatever cloud nonsense Oracle has available? And there's just not a lot of adoption there. It's I'm not saying Oracle's going out of business.
No, but like I can't.
It's a tough sell.
No one's calling up Oracle and saying, "Hey, I want to be a new Oracle customer."
No, it's a lot of Maytag men in there sitting around just waiting for that phone to ring. Well, because I mean, everything you do with Oracle, it's like I'm quoting the last time that I looked at Oracle pricing for anything. It was $48,000 per 0.75 cores of Enterprise Edition, and then if you wanted to like look at anything else, it was like $100,000 for this add-in and that in. It's like, oh, you wanted performance? Wait a minute, hang on, we have to send you the turbojet that goes with this. You know, it's man, the people who hang around there and stick around long enough to do anything with it, you know, God bless, they're taking a yacht to work.
Oh, all right. So, and then I hired Drew. Well, I didn't hire Drew, but I interviewed Drew, and
Good job.
Yeah, I mean, I was his boss for a hot second.
Yeah. Why did you stop being his boss?
He left and took a job. When I took over as Drew's boss,
yeah,
Drew was. I mean, let's be honest. I think he was already kind of working on his exit.
Sure.
And there was no hard feelings. Like the best thing I could do at that personal. Point. No. Like, I mean, I don't want to talk on for tell Drew's story, but he took the job for the place he's at now, and he's still there. So good for him.
Yeah. I remember when he was looking to make that switch. We had a bunch of conversations because there were two companies in the running, and one of them was a company that I was very familiar with from consulting with them, and one of them was where he ended up. Yeah. Where I don't know. Let's call it the mothership, and like just the weird stuff that came up from the other company where I was just like, now run screaming, please. Like, just do me the favor. Like, don't do it. Like, you don't need to put yourself through this. Just go to where you belong. And now he's a Node developer apparently. So that's fun.
I mean, yeah, he does. I mean, I think that's a good segue into your next, one of the topics you put in there.
All right.
So you put a link in here to a Hacker News page where someone asked the question, is DBA still a good job? And you asked if I had a hot take. Do you have I do have a hot take.
So here's the thing. I have a take. I don't know how spicy it is. I don't have a good like Caliente podcast take scale on these things. I think I put it in there because I thought that your take as someone who is still sort of boots on the ground, who hires people to deal with databases would be much more interesting than anything I could say. I put that. I was like, this is Paul bait.
Okay.
This is my carrot on the stick for you.
You got me. You got me. I'm gonna rant. Hold on, everybody. Here
we go. No, do it.
Is DBA still a good job? Yes. But how about that? Yes, but.
Yes, but. It's like I love you, but. I love you, but here's the 15 things wrong with you.
Okay. So I think okay, how do I put this without hurting anybody's feelings?
No, hurt feelings. Okay. They deserve it. They need to hear it.
Relational databases and data stores, they're not going anywhere. They're absolutely not, right? At the end of the day, you're going to need somebody who is an expert at that kind of stuff. Someone can help you do performance tuning. Someone to make sure that your backups and restores all work. Someone to help you with high availability, all that kind of. I don't think that's going anywhere. But I think the time for someone where that's all they do is approaching an end.
Yeah.
I think if you're just expecting to have a job where all you do all day is just interface with relational data stores, I think that is going to be a smaller and smaller market. I mean, even if you look now, things like, data science and big data, right? So much of that data comes from relational data stores or ends up in a relational data store in some way, shape, or form. I mean, you don't have to be an expert at that stuff, but I think you have to know enough. If you look at things like this big push, and don't get me started on this buzzword either. I don't want to get into that. Microservices,
oh boy,
and having small, usually object databases or document databases close to the surface. At the end of the day, I mean, let's be honest. Those kind of things work really good until some executive goes, "I want a report that pulls all these 8,000 different data sources together."
Yeah.
That's going to probably end up in a relational database for reporting purposes at the least.
Yeah.
But that's just where the industry's going. So I do think it is a good job, but I think you would be better to frame it as a data engineer or maybe I mean, data scientist is an overloaded word as well. That's very trendy and stuff like that. But I just think that's where the industry is going. And But I don't think it's a bad thing.
So I mean, you took the take right out of my mouth. And it's like, like all like the boring parts of that job are going away. Like no one's sitting there making sure that like your backups ran. No one's like clocking in the morning. First thing they do is like look at the file system and be like, backup finished, boss. Yeah. no one's doing like the cool hand look. Like, can I take my shirt off, boss? All right, cool. like no one's doing that DBA stuff anymore. Like the broom and dustpan stuff is floating out of what people do every single day between like, third party stuff, cloud stuff. Like no one has to do that stuff anymore.
Right.
Like everything in the data world, I think, is becoming less generalized and more specialized. So like whatever you do and however you apply it is turning into like you have to like laser focus on the stuff that you care about. And I think like one like great point that you brought up was like everyone's going like, oh, we have a microservice for 8,000 things. But then you're right. Like someone's just like, oh, well, now I need to know what's going on across those 8,000 things. How do I figure that out? And you're like, oh, well, we just have to make a data warehouse. Like exactly. Out of what? Yep. Magic fluff. We have a sock drawer just made for you to go look at. So yeah, I mean, I think we both just took sort of the same route to that, where it's like, yes, being a DBA is probably still a good job, but if you keep calling it that, you're not gonna set a good example for what you actually do.
Oh yeah, or if you're not willing to learn those new things, or to like, I think database administrators have to be willing to go to where the data is. And not always say, hey, the data has to be in my, relational data store, because that's what I know and that's what I control. Like you need to be more flexible and more, Like,
well, I mean, like you have to understand that your relational database engine of choice is not necessarily the best way to do a thing. Like there's a lot of stuff about the relation. There's a lot of constraints and limitations on the relational engine that you don't find in other places where, perhaps you don't need it for the type of data you're working with. Like disparate data across a bunch of microservices, and however they store their stuff, whether it's like in it's sort of a traditional database or in a CSV or wherever it is, you have to sort of figure that out.
Exactly.
And I think a pretty decent example of this recently was God bless the patron saint of SQL Server, that my good friend Joe Sack just left the query optimizer team at Microsoft and moved to a big job at MongoDB.
Oh,
and like imagine that sea change. You spend your entire life working with the relational database engine, focusing on query optimization, and all of a sudden you go to MongoDB, where it's just like that's the other side of the pancake. Like there's almost nothing in common with that. You're dealing with just 15,000 different problems. Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of stuff that I think DBAs have to have in the back of their mind when they're looking at their job and their career trajectory and their path forward. It's like, maybe it's not always going to be here.
or it's going to be different, right? You just need to,
No,
technology doesn't stand still, but
different platforms, different tooling, different everything.
Yeah, the relational database, it's not going anywhere. It's gonna be a foundation for software for a very long time, but
it's a tough thing to beat.
It is. It absolutely is. But I just as we start getting into, more buzzwords, machine learning and big data and all that wonderful stuff. I know.
The stuff that you say those words and those are buzzwords to developers.
Yeah,
those aren't buzzwords to DBAs who are like, "Ooh, yes, I'd love to machine learn DBA." No,
the data. Again, I should get off my soapbox, but
you should stay on it.
No, the data's got to come.
Place to be.
Machine learning is only as good as your data, so you got to pump data in to feed those models, and then get the result. Got to do something to results. If you just have machine learning looking at stuff and not doing anything with it, then what the hell are you doing? I think data's gonna the source of truth might not be a relational database, but I bet you somewhere along the line that data's gonna flow through it somewhere.
Yeah,
and for sure. If you can support that and help, with all if you're not a developer or don't understand technical, I'm so sorry. This podcast, we're just oozing. We're going to talk about something fun later. I promise. Oh.
No, but I mean, you're right. But like, so like, like a good example that I dealt with recently, it was something along the lines of like, we have a data warehouse, but all our data comes from a billion other places. And so they had to do a lot of things that you would find in like the transactional systems in the data warehouse. It was just like foreign keys and unique constraints and all sorts of stuff that like in a traditional data warehouse, you'd be like just whack someone with a stick if they tried to do that. You're like, but you're messing up the data loads. Get out of here.
Yeah, we don't care about that. Just get it in.
Like we already have that part figured out. Just give me the aggregates.
Right.
But they had to do that stuff there because all of the other places all of the microservices, all the places where the other stuff came from were just like, I mean, I'm not going to say hot garbage. It was probably lukewarm at best, but it existed.
Right.
It existed. Oh. So you hired Drew. You didn't hire Drew. You interviewed Drew.
Yeah, I helped interview Drew when he came over at IGS.
Yeah.
I was in one of the interviews with him.
Did he have hair then, or was that still?
It was always pretty short. Short.
Because I always try to picture young Drew with like flowing locks, and then he hit a database, and it just like thumped.
But by the time I met Drew, he was already keeping it pretty short. I mean, like I don't remember any of the other candidates we talked to. Like it was, it was.
He was the one for you.
It was immediate. Like,
yeah,
I remember just walking out of that interview, going like, "Yep, that's the guy." Like going to the hiring manager, be like, "Don't fuck this up."
Yep.
That's the one.
All right. So that was how you hired him. How did you become friends? Like what was the lily pad you landed on that made you become lifelong podcasting, game playing friends with Drew?
Yeah. I mean, Drew, he's just a very there's two things. I'm going to say one, it's just Drew's personality. He's very vibrant. He's very outgoing. He's very
gravitas.
He's very pleasant to talk to.
Yeah.
And the other thing was like board games, like just the renaissance that board gaming had, and like we were kind of together when that kind of happened, and we're both like, yeah, like we would play board games at lunch, we'd play board games after work, we'd play, and that's where I got to spend a lot of time with Drew outside of the work environment.
Okay.
And it's, heck, I'm going to be absolutely honest. We invented this podcast as an excuse to make sure we continue to talk to each other when he left the job. So I've been talking to Drew every week, at least since he left, because of this podcast. And that's why it exists.
Oh, okay. So, because I always wondered.
Yeah.
I always wondered about that.
We always threatened to do it. Like we should do a podcast together. And then we talk about it and we buy some equipment, but never do it. But then he was leaving. It's like, okay, this is the time. Like we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why we say we do the show for us, because it's really what it is. Like I get to talk to my friend Drew every week. And like, even if I don't text him or do anything else, I know that Thursday I get to sit down with Drew and have a conversation with him and catch up, see what he's doing.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Like, and I think that is sort of a good testament to Drew as a person and his personality, and like just sort of the way that he is thoughtful enough to be able to stay in someone's life, under completely different circumstances.
Yep, absolutely. All right,
what a guy.
Enough mushy stuff.
Yeah, screw that.
Tell me about something you like.
Something I like. Yeah. Oh man. So I don't know. I like dumb things.
Okay.
I like dumb acts of I don't know. What's a good way to put it? So like right now I'm drinking a not terribly fancy scotch. I'm drinking a Lagavulin Distillers Edition, but it's very near and dear, not just like physically near and dear to my heart, but something I enjoy drinking. I like watches. I like cigars.
Okay.
When on the odd occasion that I actually get to be outside and enjoy one. I don't know.
So I assume when you say watches, like you're not talking like the Apple Watch or a Timex. Like tell me about some of your watches.
Well, they all start with the letter R.
Oh, it's Rolex?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have on my Sky Dweller right now, which is my prized possession.
Okay.
But there are some other Dwellers in the collection that I'm equally enthusiastic about. But this one's my special lady. This is the one that I landed on. But for me, it's it wasn't even anything that I started out being like I particularly enjoy like this thing. It was something like a good friend of mine was just like I saw him wearing his, and just like the way that he would look at them like their first, like his first child, like every single time, like he would just look down and like the smile on his face. And like I'd be like, and like I started looking at his and be like, man, that's cool. It's like I don't know. It's just like this appreciation of like how perfect and how put together and like how well everything works, and how like nothing less than like that precision is allowed to like leave their doors, and like they like not just anyone can like walk out and go grab one. It's just like you have to like sit there and care about it a little bit before. It's not like when I bought a Mac and I was just like, hey Drew, I'm hood rich. Let's party. Let's go buy something. Like I was like I got an Apple Card. It has a $40,000 limit. Let's have fun. Yeah, like let's get whatever we want. It's like mom and dad aren't watching. It's like the babysitter's dead. But yeah, so my good friend of mine got me into them, and it was one of those things where like as soon as I started, I just got the itch so bad. So I got this bug. Actually, Drew's been talking about getting a nice watch lately. And so when he started looking, I sent him the same book that a friend of mine bought me when I was first starting to look. It's called The Man and His Watch. And it's just like this sort of like series of interviews of people who have, and they're not all crazy watches. Some are just like antiques, like something like they're like my grandfather gave me this. This was like what I started with. This was like, what I treasured. And this is like what kind of got me into, further on to like collecting or doing other things. But yeah, I sent it to Drew, and I don't know if Drew ever gets to New York, we're gonna go to some stores and look at some stuff, and I'm gonna get him out there in the world.
So, like, what do you? So, I know absolutely nothing about mechanical watches besides that they're very fancy and they tell time, and the price tag is usually pretty high.
Yeah.
So, what do you look for in a mechanical? Like, when you see a watch, what is it that makes you go, "Ooh, I have to own that"?
Oh, it's a pretty face.
Okay.
It's just a pretty face. Like I there are just some watches you look at and you're just like, like, oh, that it's like the same way that I think, you would look at like the exterior of some cars and just be like, oh, like everyone did everything right. Like no one messed up. Like everything is perfect. You look at it, like every bend, curve, every single possibly aerodynamic area of that thing is beautiful, like perfectly engineered. Everything is like precision. It's just like you look at it and you're like, damn, that's pretty. And like that, I don't know, just something about that hit me. Like, I mean, like, what I had like what was the Fitbit, like 1,000 years ago, and all it did was make me stressed out about how little I was sleeping and what my pulse was. And this is great because this watch doesn't yell at me. It looks beautiful and it tells time. It doesn't stress me out about anything. Like, I don't feel worked up. I don't wake up in the morning after thinking I got 8 hours of sleep and have the watch tell me I got 2 hours of sleep, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be exhausted now.
Yeah, I could. I mean, I'm not a watch or a car guy. But
I know you like apparently, according to the show notes, Apple and Voltron.
Okay, yeah.
I liked Voltron when I was younger too.
I mean, I have. We're on video here.
Yeah.
I should. I'm gonna take a picture of one of these things and put it as the chapter art for this.
You should.
I just got a new Voltron today. In fact, I love
they
Voltron.
Still make them?
Okay, no.
Oh,
they do. They do. They still make them. So I've been collecting Voltrons for, I don't know, like 15 years or so. I don't have a huge collection. It's a lot smaller than a lot of people I see online, but my collection is mine and I love it very much. But one of the things I never had was, so the first set of toys that were sold as Voltron
Yeah.
In the United States, it was by a company called Panache Place. It was a 1984 Panache Place line. And I remember as a kid wanting it and not being able to get it. I wasn't able to buy any until they Matchbox got the license, and they were much smaller and a lot cheaper.
So the ones that you're talking about, were those the like medium-sized ones that were like stainless steel?
So those are the Matchbox ones. Yeah, like a lot of them, some of them, there were smaller ones you could pull back and they would go zip zip. In fact, I have my toys up there as well. But I've never owned the original OG 1984 Panache Place. But I've been looking on eBay for quite some time, and I finally found one that was in good enough condition with all enough spots, and it came today. It's a little dirty. It's got to get some love over the weekend to kind of get cleaned up, but the joints are good. All the stickers one are coming. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the assembled Voltron. It's the fully formed Voltron.
And it's super janky looking. Hold on. Okay. I'll go get it. For a second.
All right. Paul has a nice butt. If anyone's curious, I'm looking at Paul's butt on the podcast right now.
The light came out. Hold on.
You could say the same thing about me. It's all right.
All right. I'm going to cut all that out. So it's this guy right here.
Oh, I remember that.
Okay. And he's got the big old janky looking legs and arms. Yeah. He's a little filthy right now. He's a little dirty. He's got to get cleaned up. But he's in great shape, except for the red line. The sticker's kind of coming off there. It even came with like the original instruction manual on marketing material.
Wow.
That was in the box. So he came here today. It is not even remotely close to the most money I've ever spent on a Voltron.
No, but that's gorgeous. I mean, I remember those when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm very excited to finally have this guy in my collection.
That's really cool. That's a gorgeous piece of childhood memorabilia.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember that was larger in scale than that was this rich kid that I knew in school who had, it was probably like 4 feet tall, a remote controlled Voltron thing where you could like make it, like it came with like the big plastic sword and you could control the arms and make the arms do stuff. It didn't like do stompy things. It just rolled back and forth on like the wheelbase, but you could like make it wheel towards people and hit things with a sword. And I remember thinking like that was really cool. But then like that stuff like that and like the stainless steel like individual things that you could get and like put those together. Like those are like the coolest things when I was a kid. Like that and like Thundercat stuff was like you couldn't beat that as far as like cool like superhero stuff went.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say that my obsessions are less expensive than yours, but then again, one of mine is like Apple stuff. I love. You
have an Apple home, Paul.
I do. I have more. Like you should, right off camera here. I keep all of my boxes as kind of like like showing me just how much stuff is in my house.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And like I mean to point out, I own the AirPods Max. Nobody should own this product. I own them.
I mean, look. I mean, sitting right next to me is probably the Sony equivalent of those with whatever the most recent set of noise canceling headphones.
With the awful the something 1000 X4 whatever.
Yeah, the XM4.
Yeah.
They do exactly what you would expect them to do. They play music and they block out sound. Not really quite sure why there's a $350 price tag on that, but it seemed like a good idea at the time.
It's cheaper than my AirPods Max, and these are worse in every way you can measure.
Yeah, they don't look very good.
But I kind of like the look of them. I wish I didn't buy I bought the silver one, which I regret because humans are gross.
Yeah.
And I've already had to wash the ear pads off a few times to get all the human out of them.
Yeah. I understand that.
But like, I don't use those for listening to music. Let's be honest here. I have another pair of headphones on my other side that I use for listening to music.
The good headphones. But you know what? I think it's important to have interests where you are able to express tastefulness that you can't express in every other facet of your life. For example, Drew loves Arby's. Drew also has some nice cars. So like, you know, Drew orders lunch from Chipotle 7 days a week. He has other nice stuff in his life. You can't keep it a buck everywhere. You know, it can't be 100 everywhere. You got to pick and choose your hundreds.
That's true. And like, I mean, I think everybody needs, I guess this is going to be like absolute like white privilege right here.
It's all right. We are lacquered with it.
It's nice to have like a hobby that you can obsess on and like enjoy, like, you know, it brings joy to my life. Like, I mean, I'm sure like for you picking a watch and buying it and putting it on for the first time is special. For me, the experience of opening up a new Apple product and getting that wrap and that clean peel for the first time just gets me going.
You know what, Paul? Nice things are nice.
Nice things are nice.
That's the easiest way to put it. Nice things are nice. And like, you know, once you find that nice thing that sets you off, why look back? Why like
I mean, I'm lucky to be at a point in my life where I can buy Apple products and Voltrons, and the kids are still going to eat. And
and have French horns and
French horn.
Those things aren't cheap.
French. I can tell you exactly. We still haven't got our French horn yet, but I can tell you exactly how much I paid for it.
Yep. No, and look, man, I
still
think
using the schools. So
I think the same amount of engineering goes into a French horn than goes into any watch that I would buy. Like those things are no joke.
Yeah.
All those instruments, man. Wee. Like I thought like buying a drum set was crazy, and then you would look at like what other people would have to go, like buying a clarinet. I knew kids who were like serious into like woodwind stuff in high school and stuff, and boy, oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Like that clarinet would be 3 times that you would pay for like an entire set of like wood and metal and drum heads and cymbals and sticks and everything else. And pedals
are you a drummer?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I used to be.
Yeah. What happened?
Life
took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, exactly. It took an arrow to the knee. I mean, I played drums all through high school and some in college. I have an electric kit in the basement. I actually used it in the previous house, but ever since we've moved, it's just been in the basement, just sitting there getting dust. But
I bought an electric kit for my older daughter who expressed interest.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I'll play it in her room, and she'll get annoyed with me because I'm making like the electric drum pad noises, and she's like, "Shut up!" It doesn't sound like drums. Yeah, I know. But yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't feel as good as a real drum set. It doesn't.
It's so far. It's so far off. I wish it did.
Yeah.
Because like that would be like an awesome compromise, especially being like in a Brooklyn apartment.
Oh yeah. Like
I can't have an actual drum set. Even if I got an actual drum set and put like the rubber dampers on it, like that would suck.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. Like that's wearing a shirt while you're moshing. You can't do that. Right? Like why? What's the point? Right, it's an awful feeling, but like the electric drum set is it's like you know you can hear the sounds it's making. It doesn't react the same way. It's not like that. Oh, it doesn't pop, doesn't buzz. You don't get that thump out of it. It's
all right. Last question. Question.
Okay.
What kind of music do you listen to?
Oh boy. So on a normal day, I will listen to a lot of rap.
Okay.
It gives me the necessary background to write things and not be overly distracted by what's going on. I think actually sort of like towards your world of things, I grew up listening to a lot of like hardcore punk stuff like that. I just never made the transition to like being fully into metal. Like I grew up like listening to a lot of like New York hardcore, Boston hardcore, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but like and like, you know, like I loved it. And like that did a lot for me. Like at the time,
high energy stuff.
Yeah. Like I mean, I loved everything about it, but then like trying to make like there was a weird period with all of like the various like, you know, hardcore scenes where like a lot of metal bands started coming into those.
Oh yeah,
and it's not that I didn't like the metal. And it's not that I didn't like the music that came from it. It was just a completely different sort of like aggressive music. It was like very technically sound music. And you would go to the shows and people, instead of like instead of there being like that sort of like all out war mosh pit, there would be a lot of people who would stand there and like watch the band play. And they'd be like, they would be very into like watching someone like noodling away on guitar and be like, but look what he's doing with his fingers and his hands. I'd be like, yeah, but you could be running in a circle hitting people. So like, I've never made that.
Imagine if that guy was on stage dressed in armor. Oh, sorry.
No worries. So, but like from listening to the show, I know you're very much into metal. I thought it was a very touching moment when what's his name? Drew, what's his name? Fergs? Yeah.
I don't know.
Fergie. Yeah. I don't know. Your temporary guest host before I showed up.
Yeah.
when he got you the jacket, and like that was a beautiful thing. That was a very cool thing to watch, and well, I mean not watch, but hear. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was like like I know very much what you're into, and like whenever I've heard you talk about it, the only thing I can think of is like, man, I remember when dudes like Paul started showing up to hardcore shows, and no one knew what to do
and ruining it.
Like because dudes like you would be like, I'm really into metal, and everyone would be like, cool. like I've never heard metal before. I'm here for like the 4 hardcore bands. You're here for the 3 metal bands. Like there was like this like shift of audiences at all the shows. For like
I can't tell you how many times someone has asked me, okay, like tell me a song to play by this band. Like, okay, I tell them a song and they go, wow, I really liked it until they started singing.
Yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm. The singing, like the rah 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 singing. Oh, come on.
That's all I like. And I mean, I don't exclusively like harsh vocals, but
you end up with that.
I prefer them. them.
Well, I mean, I don't exclusively like girls with tattoos and drinking problems, but mm-hmm. I've followed a path in my life, and quite frequently that was a sort of natural endpoint where I don't need the harsh vocals either, but God damn it, a lot of the times, like whenever there's something that I really want to listen to, there were a lot of harsh vocals involved.
Oh, well, I think we have another one in the books.
Yeah, did we make it? Did we make it?
We made it. We absolutely did make it.
Wow.
Hey, Eric, thank you so much for pitch hitting for Drew. I think we definitely have you on again. It's been absolutely
that would be wonderful.
Great talking to you.
Yeah.
Hey, as always, we're on the internet, doingtheirbest.com. You can find us there on Twitter at doingbestpod. I'm on Twitter at Paul Baylor. And one more time, where can we find you, Eric?
You can find me on Twitter with at Erik with a K, Darling Data. And man, I just can't wait to hear how Drew's circumcision went.
Me too.
That's going to be fun.
Oh, all right, everybody. Thanks for listening.